Hey guys, it's Jouelzy, and it is time for another Pop Snark, where we talk about everything from the low brow to the high brows, as long as your eyebrows are on fleek. Pop Snark is something I do especially for my smart brown girls. As always, you can support Pop Snark and the Smart Brown Girl movement by hitting up shop.smartbrownngirl.com, where I have Smart Brown Girl apparel. We do have a limited pre-sale of sorority colored sweatshirts, as well as the standard Smart Brown Girl sweatshirts and t-shirts. So go ahead and support. This week I am sipping on, I'm just so grateful. I went to HEB and picked these up the other week, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have any liquor for Pop Snark. But this week I am keeping it hood, keeping it ratchet, girl. It's dessert time anyway. I done already ate dinner, so it's okay for me to have a glass of Moscato. Well, look at these little alky bottles. Perfect serving size of the Behringer Pink Moscato. They were on sale. Like a case of 4 was like $6 or something ridiculous. Something out of a wine glass. Corey, you would approve. All right. Clink, 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 clank. Let me know in the comments down below, what are you sipping on? If you're under 21, girl, keep it PG, keep it cute. What is sweet? Oh. But this Monday is Martin Luther King Day. His actual birthday was last week, but the federal holiday celebrating the legacy of Martin Luther King is today. So in honor of MLK, I hope if you have not already, go see Selma. You can check out my review. It is a historical movie, so there are no spoilers, and even considering that, I still didn't get too much into detail, knowing that for some of you, this might be an introduction to the civil rights movement and Black American culture. So I respectfully did not get into the details of the movie so that you wouldn't feel like I gave you any spoilers to something that you could just read a Wikipedia page on. No shade, girl. It's okay though. I'm just happy if you go support the movie. It don't even matter if you watch my review or not. Please support the greatness that Ava DuVernay put out for all of us to see in Selma. Now, after you go see Selma, definitely look up my spirit animal, James Baldwin's debate with William F. Buckley. You know, around the same time of Martin Luther King, Bloody Sunday, you know, the march from Selma to Montgomery. You know, there were a lot of other civil rights activists partaking. And, you know, unlike today's society where we have celebrities speaking on civil rights matters who don't read books, you know, back in the 60s, you know, it was actually the literary celebrities who were very vocal in the civil rights movement, that being James Baldwin. If you've never read a James Baldwin book, girl, go pick you one up. Just Above My Head is my favorite James Baldwin book. However, why I'm bringing up this debate, because James Baldwin is just, I enjoy watching his interviews from that period, because he was just so full of like no fucks given, like real grit. Like he wasn't even trying to like gloss things over for you. He was like, facts only, this shit ain't cute, this is what it is. Boop, boop. Him and all of his unbotheredness. I think this debate, William F. Buckley is the founder of National Review. It's a conservative paper that's still out today. And I don't remember quite where the debate is at. It's an hour long. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Watch the 15-minute intro, because it is hilarious to see white people in like 1964, 65 cackling at the kind of humor of talking about the injustices happening to Black people. It's not offensive laughter either. And then listen to the opening arguments, and then listen to James Baldwin's speech or his debate argument, because it's just, girl, it's good. Ava DuVernay and all her gloriness and the full cast of Selma was entirely snubbed when the Oscar nominations were announced this past week. This turned out to be the whitest nomination since, I believe, 1998, with no person of color nominated in any acting role. I do feel like Spike Lee kind of encapsulated the situation the best, and he's historically been consistently snubbed from the Oscars, where I believe the year that Do the Right Thing came out, Driving Miss Daisy won for Best Picture, and Do the Right Thing was not nominated for it. I don't know if it wasn't nominated for anything, but it wasn't nominated in any of the acting or Best Picture roles. And, you know, Spike Lee brought up, he's like, you know, yeah, it's a snub for Ava in 2015, 20-something years later. Nobody's teaching Driving Miss Daisy in college courses. It hasn't had as large of a cultural impact as Do the Right Thing did. And Do the Right Thing is still a movie that's constantly talked about in the context of cultural issues, and it is taught in classrooms, and it is taught at film academies. And so the legacy that the film Selma will leave is way greater than any snub that the Oscars can give. But it's still a snub. It still ain't right, so F them. Nicki Minaj's ex-boyfriend, Safari, did an interview with Power 105's Breakfast Club in full fuckboy regale. Hold on. My man Safari, I just with the fur Gillette, let me not even front like I'm even that fashionable to call this anything other than a fur vest. But my dude, between the fur, whatever you want to call that, the rings, the jewelry, and the whatever cup of coffee or tea he was drinking must have been real tart, because he was just popping it left and right. And you know, I've said before that I did not get Nicki and Safari's relationship, largely because I have never heard the man speak before. And I went into that interview fully expecting some BS, and I was totally thrown off. And like, first of all, he has a very nice speaking voice. Second, he like spoke in full coherent sentences. He was extremely respectful and just, you know, had a lot of credibility and caliber in the interview that he gave. On these Breakfast Club interviews with DJ MV and Charlemagne, they definitely set you up to take shots. Like, they set you up to make throwing shade just so easy. And he didn't take any of the bait. Kind of really confirmed that he genuinely loved her. They were together for quite a few years. They did not get married because it would be public record, and she wanted to hide the relationship. Respectfully highlighted that, you know, he didn't even say it outright. It's kind of like Charlemagne asked, like, how could she want to hide the relationship with you, but then all of a sudden be so public about the breakup? And he was like, we can all inflect or, you know, deduce what we want about the relationship. You know, there's two sides of the truth. We still don't know the truth. It really made me almost like respect Nicki Minaj a little bit more, because it's like, yo, he really is a good dude. It also made me kind of, you know, I think he did kind of highlight some of the like girl really moments from her. After watching the interview and like now this Nicki Minaj mini doc that's on MTV, I think this is all a stunt. They playing us. I think Nicki and SB are gonna get back together. Jazmine Sullivan released her third studio album with reality show, and she's a smart brown girl that we all need to go support. She is like the second coming of the voice of God. You know, if you watch my Selma review, you'll get the reference. But Jazmine Sullivan is just in her own lane when it comes to like her voice and her vocals, and reality show is a great album. Please go support her. Her record label RCA be throwing her all the shade with that lame ass budget they be giving her to promote her music. I feel like her albums haven't done as well as they potentially could have, not because she's not putting out great music, but because you just genuinely don't know when she drops an album. Like, so if we could do what the little we can do and go support and buy her album, you know, I encourage all of you. All right, to get into some politics. Oh gosh, Boko Haram in Nigeria. So I did not talk about this in my last Pop Snark, not because I am not fully aware. People are arguing that Boko Haram situation in Nigeria is not getting as much media coverage because it's a matter of brown and black people. Now, I do think that it's part of the issue, but I do not believe that that is the reason for why. The one thing I have learned from my African versus African American video with Evelyn from the internet is that when you start talking about Nigerians, yo, the pride is strong, and I realize I can't speak for an entire nation of like however many ethnic groups. So I'm just gonna state a few facts, and you can deduce from it what you would like. Area where Boko Haram is attacking and is in northern Nigeria in the Borno state, which borders Chad. Chad has been having civil unrest for like forever and a day, and they are never in the news. 2, the last dictator of Nigeria, military dictator, was ethnically speaking from the Borno area. My man was president like until like 1998. Like, this issue was like recent for my generation, okay? There are only satellite pictures of the area that is being attacked. They don't have mobile service in the area. And so a lot of the pictures that you've seen floating around are from like 2010. Like, they're not from the past year. There are only satellite pictures. I have looked at the satellite pictures. I don't understand them. I do believe that Boko Haram is waging like a serious pogrom in northern Nigeria. I do believe that the attacks are close to the 2,000 deaths that the NGOs and locals are reporting. I happen to know quite a few people who are like the United States of America for less than 5 years. In amongst this company, I have asked about the attacks by Boko Haram, and I have been told straight up in very serious terms that Boko Haram is a Western conspiracy theory and they don't really believe it's happening. You know, until like last week, nobody that I knew was talking about Boko Haram. Now, what I'm also aware of is that most of the people that I know are either from Lagos or from Southeast Nigeria. The Biafran War, which was basically like against the Southeast region of Nigeria, just happened like 50, 60 years ago. So, you know, it's interesting because my timelines on Facebook and Twitter are largely more full of talks about Buhari's daughter's Photoshop picture and the elections that are coming up, the presidential elections that are coming. I saw like a few I am Nigeria, pray for Nigeria pictures. As a matter of fact, one I saw was like pray for Nigeria. Another Nigerian was like, for what's going on? Like, what happened? And somebody else said that something needs to happen, and they were like, true. And so, now that's not to say that we shouldn't talk about it. That's not to say that there doesn't need to be a push against a corrupt government, against ethnocentrism, you know, against respecting the humanity of people who, regardless of ethnic or religious affiliations, still have the right to live a safe and peaceful life. I am just saying, all I can do is state facts. So, what are you watching on TV? Clearly not Sorority Sisters. I've noticed a ton of you have been asking for a review on the Fox primetime series Empire, featuring Taraji P. Henson and a pimp's name slipped back. Terrence Howard. Yeah, that guy. So basically, to sum it up, Taraji P. Henson is carrying that entire series. Like, her character Cookie and her pimp hats and her hood rich sense of fashion and her one-liners is giving me all my life. I don't understand how they're just saying Gabby Sidibe. It's just so disrespectful and so rude. Like, whoever put her in horizontal stripes last episode, that was so unnecessary. Like, you could do better. Okay? What I really don't get about this show, though, is why does it have to come on the same time as Blackish? Like, for all the limited access to primetime, basic cable, mainstream television programming featuring Black art actors, why would you put on two heavily Black casted shows at the same time? Like, I get one's on Fox and one is on ABC, but seriously, like, don't nothing come on Tuesday night? Nothing good come on Monday night neither. Truth be told, you could have came on at the same time as Love and Hip Hop. Blackish came out first. Empire could come on Tuesday or Monday night. We need to start a petition to get Empire to come on another night, because it's really, really wrong that I have to choose between the two programmings and I can't support them both. The Whitney Lifetime biopic came on last night, and I mean, I think the Aaliyah biopic set our barometers extremely low. In all honesty, the Whitney biopic was mediocre. I don't know who they casted for Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown ain't never been that cute a damn day in his life. That was not the Whitney Houston story. That was the Bobby Brown trying to save his reputation story. The sex scenes were so unnecessary. It was basically like they had a lot of sex. Whitney was doing drugs before Bobby, and Bobby just did everything because he was passionately in love with Whitney. And I'm like, who told this story though? Like, I can see why Whitney Houston's family was not effing with it, because it didn't tell any part of her story. Like, Whitney, for all her shortcomings, was, you know, we could have explored her childhood. We could have explored her relationship with her mother and her father, her growing up in the church, famous godparents, her relationship with the Winans. Like, Whitney Houston had a legacy long before she ever met and got entangled with Bobby Brown. And Bobby Brown was doing bad all by his damn self, with or without Nippy. So, like, and then the singing, like, you know, if you want to call, they really could have called this like Deborah Cox Sings the Covers. You know, Deborah Cox collected all her Canadian coin for singing all the songs in the Whitney biopic. They weren't bad, you know, by Deborah Cox standards, and Deborah Cox has an amazing, beautiful voice. They just wasn't Whitney. You know what they did nail though? They nailed them damn costumes. Like, you can look up Whitney at each and every point, whether it's at the 1989 Soul Train Awards, when she got the wedding and all those ridiculous purple outfits. The guy who played Clive Davis killed it. Even the part of her story that they did tell, it just made Bobby Brown look real good. And we all know wasn't none of that the truth. So I wasn't mad at it, but I feel like Lifetime just needs to no more biopics Lifetime. Like, go back to making your soap opera-esque made for TV movies. Let's stick to those, okay? I see you try to get the black woman coin. If this is the closest you can get, just leave it. About the cancellation of Sorority Sisters, I see all you out on Twitter that are so mad, and I still don't see that petition that you started for Love and Hip Hop. This is my problem with that argument. Everyone keeps saying, oh, these people are watching Love and Hip Hop and 2, and then all of a sudden they want to watch Sorority Sisters. Sorority Sisters did not get canceled because my age group, the under 30 crowd, boycotted Sorority Sisters. Really, the over 40, the mom, the grown woman crowd came out. All these people who were tweeting the companies and saying, I'm not going to support you, I'm not going to do this. The person who even came up with that strategy was an alpha who's like in his 50s, the guy that wrote the Divine Nine book. Like, grown people. You got the grown folk in it, and that's why all of a sudden it was moved to action. You have people that only go on Twitter when Delta tells them to send out a tweet. People that I know for a fact watch Love and Hip Hop and are sorors, they were quiet. They was mum. They was not in discussion. I didn't sign no petition. I didn't send out no tweets. I did a video on it, and then I respectfully chose not to watch the show. So it's just, I think, and again, as I said in my article, people just are not gonna you're not in the organization, so you're not gonna understand like the breakdown and how things work. And I feel like the show really got canceled because those 2 AKAs got suspended. And I don't know if AKA works the same as Delta, where if you get suspended and you're repping the organization like with your letters on, that's a like legit lawsuit, and Delta will win. Search a certain person who is listed on the suspended page and listed on the expel page, and you can read her entire court case against a sorority and how she still got her letter snatched. You still mad about something that happened on campus. You carrying some personal, I get it. You went to an AKA event and you mistakenly had on blue and yellow, and somebody who thought they was cute but wasn't really cute in real life checked you, and you still mad about it. 2 Chainz was on Nancy Grace to discuss a legalization of marijuana, and for a man who formerly went by the name Titty Boys, he did quite well. Like, I was not mad at the interview at all. Brought up some pretty legitimate cases as to why marijuana should be legalized. I do believe it should be legalized. It'll, as 2 Chainz so aptly pointed out, it will save a lot of taxpayer dollars. The criminalization of marijuana largely impacts low-income people of color. And so it's, the legalization of marijuana, I don't know if it's really going to benefit these people anyway, because it's basically just going to put more money in the white man's pocket. It is what it is. But, Nancy Grace just trolled 2 Chainz for the 15 minutes she interviewed him for, and he just kind of held his own. She kept throwing up these random cases of someone who gave their 2-year-old a blunt, or someone who just did some dumb shit after smoking marijuana. And it's like, these are people that just have poor judgment in real life. They would have had poor judgment sober. For all that, you could bring up all the wild cases of somebody putting vodka in their 2-year-old's baby bottle. It's happened. Why isn't alcohol illegal? We don't need to go back to the Prohibition era either. Let me sip my wine real quick. I will link to the interview down below. I'm going to watch this Nicki Minaj mini doc, and we'll cover that in next week's Pop Snark. As always, thanks for watching. If you really love me and you want to come spend some time in the sun with me, I will be attending Bermuda's Greek Alumni Weekend. I know I just threw all the sorority shade like less than 5 minutes ago. However, even if you are not Greek affiliated, come and spend some time with me in Bermuda. Link will be down below for all the details on this awesome spring break. And don't worry, I'm not trapped. I will not be wearing any of my letters. I'm going to be a regular human being. I'm going to be Jouelzy, drinking my pina colada in the sun and having a good old clean ratchet time. So come along with me. Thanks for watching. Support a smart brown girl. I'm out. Deuces. Selma, the movie, don't move me so much, I done even looked up how to correctly pronounce Ava DuVernay's last name. Let's play it again.
DuVernay.
Okay.